Hello everyone. I got 14 minutes here up to that I might go. I would really appreciate it if you kind of hold on and watch through this video. You're obviously here because interest in the beings of the forest. We many times refer to them as Bigfoot and Sasquatch in these areas. And whether there's more than one species, sometimes that's a conversation. Different things like that. I like to refer to them pretty much now most of the times as just beings of the forest. And this, I might have a number of kind of pauses here. If I'm going to pause too long, then you might see a little edit in the video because I'm just going to hit the pause here. But, and I can do it without you even noticing, like I just did. So the rain will be a little bit confusing for me. It's just struck up just as I started to talk here. Got a couple of hearing issues, so it just doesn't, irritates hearing issues if you have your hearing issues, and then it makes you kind of with your mind a little bit sometimes, you're not always so focused maybe. I've got grave concerns, and I'm not getting through to people. So just before this video, I did the little jokey one there with the shining eyes. I'm just waiting for my son here to get off of work, and then I'm giving him a ride home. I've been neglecting, and I've talked about this before in other videos, if you're really familiar with me. I do have some very devoted people that watch all of my videos. There's a certain amount of stuff that goes on out there, guys, that I'm not wrong when I say it's being right now as we talk. It's being harmful to human beings. It's kind of like an attack on the industrial revolution of our lives, how we get about life and in life and stuff and do our things. And it's only going to expand. In some areas of the world, I bet you, I would say that if I got to go there and explore, I would be able to see them further than what they're doing here. So, like, for an example, I'll use as an example, automobiles. As of yet, there's nothing that I'm really picking up on that they're bothering with automobiles. In other countries, I have a feeling that there's probably, that's one of the things they do work on. Out here, out in the logging areas where their big trucks are and stuff, I suspect that they might have gone up to the big tires and stuff with certain availability of tread there and cut out chunks of that tread. Like, they will be testing at least the rubber there. And, I'm talking about stuff that's parked there in a way that they feel comfortable to access it like this and such. It's not super easy for it to happen, but as stuff starts to become easier and they start to get more comfortable, then they do this interacting of being a menace more. And this menace is not worth thinking that you should scare them off with guns. This menace is worth knowing that you can scare them off with your voice. In most cases, if you think about it and realize that you're probably off on how much is really going on there, because depending on how involved you are in the actual search for answers here, you could be off by big numbers, correct? And why was I saying that? I was saying that to make the point of they're communal. And you start getting after somebody, I think there's a chance that the community will not necessarily agree with it and look negative upon that one, that being for maybe upsetting, you know. So in that's one of my things that I teach people, is that if you're out camping and such, and you know that's not a bear, because he would be doing a lot more than just what he's doing. You would know he would be either more involved, or you took a chance to try to peek and you can't tell that it's a bit, whatever. And he's not coming through the bush, but he just keeps giving these warning noises and stuff like that. There's a certain amount of people that can figure out and go, that's not a bear. Realize it could be somebody else, and use that voice, use the power that we have to be able to talk to them, wherever that is. Pretend, call them a bear still if you like. And, just ask them to leave, and so on and so forth. I wouldn't suggest being a tough guy. I would suggest being maybe open, realizing what they end up illustrating to be sort of in a language that you can understand through their interaction with what they're doing to make you aware of them, whether it's a thrashing of brush or it's actually a vocalization of something. The thrashing of brush, of just a little bit of thrashing around and stuff, is a lot different than being broken and swiped at and thrashed about. And the same with the vocalization. There's the calm vocalizations of just huffing and snorting like they're trying to mimic a bear or something. And then, straight up growling and reacting off of you trying to say something, reactiveness. Then you know which way you gotta paddle. You're never paddling trying to get closer to them in most cases, unless you're that person. But in most cases, you're paddling to get out of their way and giving them space then. And if it happens to be in the night when you're camped, then I would be very stern at telling them that this isn't right and they're not supposed to bother you, and so on and so forth. If it's a regular camping spot that humans are always using, then there really isn't they don't have an argument. They're not playing the game properly. And that's just a thing there. And that's just a way to try to kind of be hanging out with them and such. But that's not so much my concern. My concern is their interaction with, like I say it on my channel. I say so many things. Nobody's getting it. People are getting it, but nobody's really realizing that it's very big. Like, I would much rather just have somebody asking me some questions and then just going with that, instead of me just trying to pull up stuff like this and make it where you guys stay glued and what is he talking about? What do you mean these are wear and tear beings, that they actually put wear and tear on many different items that we own, that we deal with day-to-day cases, and we don't realize. And what does that matter? We don't realize that they're wear and tearing and costing us money and labor, and actually sometimes damage to the point of people could be being hurt and people can be being killed and such. Along with that kind of stuff, I believe there's certain amounts of them that are willing to do this, make a hiker get lost, somehow make it so the hiker ends up making a fatal step and falls to his death, her death. And there's so many cases like this, and so many cases of where people we're really not that silly. That's like a wear and tear cleanup, get rid of this too. Breaking down all these rocks and you turn them into smaller gravel, and you come out from your place and you notice, how's all this gravel getting on the roads? And stuff like that. And it might be some them close by on a little bit of a rock pile over here, and they're breaking down the rock into smaller pieces, and then they put them on your road, and they're just wear and tear beings. They're making more potholes. They're cracking more concrete and more asphalt. They crack our hydro poles, the telephone poles, wood ones, to the point of hydro companies don't like it. They see certain structuralness wrong with the poles, and they'll replace them. They lean the hydro poles. Almost looks like they're even successful at leaning them from underground to some extent. Whether it's just a loosening, but it just doesn't make sense much. With the asphalt, instead of going around and just pouring all that tar in the crack lines, because it's gotten so chaotic how much that is now, they're trying out different patching techniques I've noticed around here, where it looks like a very thin layer of, I guess, a tar resin of some sort. And they just do it in kind of a rectangular or square, depending on the size of the area of starting cracking or whatever they're seeing there to decide to do that. But I've seen it in a number of spots on our highway here where it really does look like test spots. Maybe I'll try to, on a dry day, run out and take a look. I'm at 12 minutes, so I only got a couple of minutes here, and I hope you've been hanging on. But yeah, they're doing it to many foundations, building foundations and stuff, even tilt-up buildings where they're cracking on the outside of the building, and it's kind of like almost like a fracking procedure where they're just picking at it and they're cracking at it and so on and so forth. And they're vertical hear the voices, but I don't see them. They're vertical cracks, and it's just bizarre, guys. Ask me some questions, please. Like, the way that I show and teach research needs to be copied. We need to start having actual schools on this, you guys. We actually need to start getting certain levels of security involved in this. We need to get university involved in this. This is like, I'm not oversaying anything with that. I'm not at all overstating something. I'm understating, obviously, because none of my numbers are changing. I'm not reaching anybody. And I feel ridiculous because of that, because I'm not just looking for attention. If I wanted attention, I would have been getting attention, you guys. This isn't attention. I don't know how to tell you so truthfully that you need to be concerned here. You really, really need to be concerned. Really, honestly. From my heart, I tell this to my children. I don't want to scare them. I tell this to my father in some degrees. Peace out. Ian Armstrong, Canada. Sasquatch.